Hi all, we can listen about the Union Parliament in this session. And this is Neethu George, Assistant Professor, Department of Basic Sciences and Humanities, Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology. Parliament is a platform to do a discussion on issues having social and civic importance in any popular democracy. Is a cornerstone of democratic values in any representative democracy. Parliament may be perceived as a political institution to ensure the realization of what Mahatma Gandhi once envisaged, that democracy essentially is the art and science of mobilizing and utilizing the entire physical, economic, and immaterial resources for the common good of all the people. Though the origin of the concept of parliament traces to European nations, since medieval ages it has been an indispensable part of the Indian democratic structure since the inception of democracy in India. After the first general election in the year 1952, both the houses of parliament came into existence. It must be noted that after the constitution was adopted until general elections, that is between 1950 to 1952, the Constituent Assembly itself functioned as the provisional legislative body. Now we can listen to the powers and functions of the parliament. The first one is legislative function. The parliament make laws on all subjects listed in the union list. It can also make laws on subjects listed under the concurrent list. In case there is any conflict or overlapping in the provisions existing in the union and the state enactment, the union law prevails. In cases when an emergency has been declared, the Union Parliament can also make laws on subjects that fall within the state list. The next function is the financial control. Union Parliament has exclusive powers to provide ways and means through which revenue has to be raised for public services. To that end, it imposes taxes and also ensures that the money sanctioned for expenditure to various departments of the government has been spent for the authorized purposes. And the next function is control over the executive. Our parliamentary system blends the legislative and executive organs of the state in as much as the executive power is wielded by a group of members of the legislature who command majority in the Lok Sabha. To be more specific, the government functions through various ministries under the charge of different ministers. The parliament provides the ministers and holds them responsible to the elected representatives of the people. The ministers could be the member of either of the two houses of the parliament. The actual execution of the government policies as decided by the parliament is carried out by the bureaucracy headed by a secretary of the department. The next function is the constitutional function. The power to amend the constitution vests with the parliament. Constitutional amendments have to be passed by each house by a majority of total membership as well as by two-thirds majority of members presenting in voting. In some cases, amendments need ratification from half of the legislative assemblies of the states. And the next function is judicial functions. Parliament has the exclusive power to impeach the president and remove judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts through a prescribed procedure named impeachment. Parliament can also punish a person for contempt or defamation of the House. And the next function is elective functions. Elected members of the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha constitute the electoral college for the election of the vice president. Along with the elected members of the state legislatures, they form the electoral college for election to the office of the president. The parliament can also by legislation create new states or make changes in the existing boundaries of the states. And the last function is the deliberative functions. The parliament is a forum for deliberation on the questions of public grievances and also serves as a ventilating chamber for public grievances. Now we can listen about Lok Sabha. The Constitution describes the structure of Parliament in Article 79. It states that the Parliament comprises of the President and the two houses, that is, Lower House or House of People and Upper House or Council of States. The provision of Article 331 of the Indian Constitution provides for the existence of the House of People and shall consist of a maximum of 530 chosen members from different states, not more than 20 members to be chosen from the Union territories. If President feels that there is a lack of representation of the Anglo-Indian community in Parliament, he may nominate 2 members of the Anglo-Indian community. Some seats are also reserved for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities, especially laid aside from them all over the country. The representation is allocated to states and the union territories according to the Representation of the People Act passed by the Parliament of India in 1951. The members elected by universal adult suffrage serve their offices for a tenure of 5 years. However, if devoid of a popular majority, the government can fall and the House can dissolve midway any time before the completion of 5 years. The Lok Sabha, unless dissolved midway, continues its tenure for 5 years from the day of its first meeting. Some qualifications to be as a member of Lok Sabha. He or she must be a citizen of India, must not be less than 25 years of age. He or she need to comply with other such qualifications as per prescribed in any law by the Indian Parliament. Or she or he must be eligible as a voter from one of the Lok Sabha constituencies. And some disqualifying criteria are if she or he is holding any office of profit in the central or state government, is of unsound mind, if they are insolvent, if he or she is imprisoned for 2 years, or if she or he has acquired the citizenship of any foreign state. The powers and functions of the Lok Sabha. The first one is legislative. The Lok Sabha can pass bills concerning all those subjects which have been included in the Union list and the concurrent list. It can pass bills regarding state subjects also in emergencies, or if Rajya Sabha by a resolution passed by majority of its total members and 2/3 of its members present and voting declared a particular state subject of national importance. However, such a bill can be valid only for a year. A non-money bill can be initiated in any of the two houses. In case the houses cannot come to an agreement, the President may summon a joint session of both the houses of the Parliament. If the bill is passed by the majority of the total members of the houses concerned in a joint session, it is deemed to have been passed by both the houses of the Parliament. Since the membership of Lok Sabha is almost double to that of Rajya Sabha, the will of the former is likely to prevail. Thus, supremacy of Lok Sabha over Rajya Sabha in an ordinary or important non-money bills is self-evident. The next function is financial. The Lok Sabha's control over purse is an undisputed fact. A money bill must be initiated in the Lok Sabha. When passed by the Lok Sabha, it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for its recommendations. The Constitution, however, requires the Rajya Sabha to return it to the Lok Sabha with its recommendations within 14 days from the date of receipt of the bill. If the Lok Sabha accepts these recommendations, the bill is deemed to have been passed by both the houses of the Parliament. If the amendments made by the Rajya Sabha are not acceptable to the Lok Sabha, the bill is deemed to have been passed by both the houses in the original form. If a bill is passed by the Lok Sabha and while sent to Rajya Sabha is not returned within 14 days, it is deemed to have been passed by both the houses of the Parliament after the expiry of the stipulated period. Evidently, the Rajya Sabha possesses power of delaying a money bill only for 14 days. The next function is control over the executive. In a parliamentary form of government, the most important function of a lower house is control over the executive. The lower house of a parliament is not an exception. According to the Article 75, the Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. This means the ministry must tender resignation if a vote of no confidence motion is passed against it by the Lok Sabha. There are other effective methods also adopted by our lower house, like that of other lower houses in parliamentary forms of government, to control the executive. The next function of the Lok Sabha is constitutional. This is a very important power of the Lok Sabha. The bills that have to be amended must be passed by the House, otherwise amendments will not come into force. The other powers are electing the President and Vice President of India, impeachment of the President, removal of the judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts, approving proclamations of emergency. And the final one is redressal of grievances. The members of the Lok Sabha have to be in constant touch with their constituencies and bring the issues to the notice of Lok Sabha. To preside over sessions of the House, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha is elected among the sitting members of the House. He or she is generally elected in the first meeting of the Lok Sabha and serves a tenure of 5 years along with the particular Lok Sabha. And as normally practiced, the Speaker is a member of the ruling party or alliance. Regarding the election of the Speaker, sitting MPs proposes names and the same are notified to the President of India. Then a date for the election is notified. Now, if only one name is proposed by the MPs, no formal voting happens, but in a case where a proposal for more than one name shows up, a division vote is organized and the Speaker is chosen accordingly. Inter alia, among other things, one of the main functions of a Speaker is to decide upon whether a bill is a money bill or not. His or her function also includes maintaining decorum and discipline in the House and punishing those who are not complying with his guidelines. Also, in the order of precedence, he or she is ranked 6th, parallel to the Chief Justice of India. According to Article 94 and Article 96 of the Indian Constitution, a Speaker can be removed by a resolution passed with an effective majority, that is, more than 50% of the members of the House. He or she can also be removed according to the Representation of the People Act and when a bill is wrongly certified as a money bill by the Speaker. The Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha serves as a number 2 who, in the absence of Speaker, carries forward his roles and functions. He or she also has a tenure of 5 years and can leave the post midway if he or she ceases to be a member of Parliament. Now we can listen about Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is the upper house of the Indian Parliament. This house is permanent in nature as it can never be dissolved. This is because every member elected to the Rajya Sabha serves for a term of 6 years and 1/3 of members do retire biennially, while the other members continue their tenure. It's like an election in different batches. Retired members are subjected to re-election. This house consists of 250 members, out of which 238 members are elected by means of a single transferable vote. 12 members are nominated by the President on the advice of the Council of Ministers. The method of election of these members is listed in Article 80 of the Indian Constitution. It says that the members would be elected by the elected members of respective state assemblies in accordance with the proportionate representation of every state. This provision thus reflects the federal nature of the Council of States, where every state is represented proportionally. However, the number of members representing each state varies from 1 to as large as 31 for Uttar Pradesh. Article 84 of the Indian Constitution provides for the qualification to become a member of Rajya Sabha. That is, one must have the nationality of India, doesn't hold any office of profit, and must have completed 30 years of age. Article 102 of the Indian Constitution provides for conditions on which one can be disqualified from either of the houses. It says that one must be disqualified as a member of the House if he or she holds any office of profit, or he or she is of unsound mind, he or she is discharged insolvent, he or she is not a citizen of India and has voluntarily accepted the nationality of other nations, or he or she is disqualified under any law made by the Parliament. The first function of the Rajya Sabha is legislative powers. In the sphere of ordinary lawmaking, the Rajya Sabha enjoys equal powers with the Lok Sabha. An ordinary bill can be introduced in the Rajya Sabha and it cannot become a law unless passed by it. In case of a deadlock between the two houses of the Parliament over an ordinary bill, and if it remains unresolved for 6 months, the President can convene a joint sitting of the two houses for resolving the deadlock. This joint sitting is presided over by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. If the bill is passed in the joint sitting, it is sent to the President for his signature. But if the deadlock is not resolved, the bill is deemed to have been killed. Next is the control over the executive. The Union Council of Ministers is collectively responsible before the Lok Sabha and not the Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha alone can cause the fall of the Council of Ministers by passing a vote of no confidence. Although the Rajya Sabha cannot remove the ministry from its office, yet the members of the Rajya Sabha can exercise some control over the ministers by criticizing their policies, by asking questions and supplementary questions, and by moving adjournment motions. Some of the ministers are also taken from Rajya Sabha. Now, the Prime Minister can also be from Rajya Sabha if the majority party in the Lok Sabha may elect or adopt him as its leader. Next is the amendment power or constitutional power. Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha can together amend the constitution by passing an amendment bill with 2/3 majority in each house. It may be noticed that certain functions belong to both the houses. Hence, in the following matters, the Rajya Sabha shares its powers with Lok Sabha: election of President and Vice President of India, impeachment of the President of India, initiating a move to remove the Vice President, removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, giving approval to the proclamation of emergency and presidential ordinances. And the next power and the final one is exclusive powers. The Rajya Sabha, as the representative chamber of the states, has certain powers in its own right. They are exclusively enjoyed by it and are not shared with the Lok Sabha. Such powers are: by a 2/3 majority resolution, the Rajya Sabha can empower Parliament to legislate on a matter in the state list in the national interest. By a 2/3 majority resolution, the Rajya Sabha can create one or more All India services. It can also give approval to the proclamation of emergency when Lok Sabha stands dissolved. It is in these matters the Rajya Sabha is superior to Lok Sabha. Thank you.